My name's Scott Krugger, Head of Design for Alfa Romeo, and we're in front of the all-new Alfa Romeo Tonale. The Tonale is a precursor for the CUV possibility for Alfa Romeo. When we started the Tonale, we looked at the historical aspects of the brand. I mean, the concept is purely about how do we find some of the historical elements of the brand and how do we infuse them into this vehicle. You can see the front end, especially the 3-element lamps. We've seen it on SZ, Brera, but we're trying to do it in a very modern way, in a very kind of illuminated way, in a very monographic type of way, something very modern and different. The intention from the exterior of this vehicle is that we want it to be pure, beautiful, very clean. You don't see that often in the C segment category. You see a lot of busyness, you see a lot of extreme kind of hyper design. And for Alfa Romeo, that's not what we're about. We have to be very pure, very beautiful, sculpted. And that's where you see the essence of Alfa Romeo DNA from the history. The GT line, you see that coming through the body. The Scudetto, it all begins with the Scudetto, very powerful, very strong, almost like it's pushing forward. And the GT line kind of arcs back and gives tension in the vehicle from a length standpoint. So yeah, just pure in beauty. That's a restraint we wanted to make sure that we had in this vehicle. When we talk about electrification, this vehicle is PHEV. So the idea behind this concept is we have PHEV, but how do you do that in an Alfa Romeo way? I think that's the key, is that we don't want strong graphics or some identifiable color. We want it to be very clean, very pure. So that's where we took the Bichone, the Alfa Romeo logo, and we made it into a plug. You can see that with the little lightning bolt in its mouth. So it's a little play on the idea of electrification in a very subtle way. And it's illuminated in this concept just to make it even more kind of an identifier, a very key little element. Yeah, the wheel is another aspect of, if you look at Alfa's history, I mean, you have the phone dial wheel. You see it from the 60s, you see it all the way till today. But how do we do that in a way that's unique, without being retro? How do you do it in a way that's very pure, very honest? And this wheel is very dynamic. I mean, the idea is that it's lightweight. The technical elements of Alfa Romeo still have to remain true. So a very clean, kind of pure body, but then a very technical, very architectural wheel design. Yeah, I mean, if you look at a lot of the vehicles from our past, especially with the back end, you see some of the V graphic from the Brera, even the 2900B 8C. So it really goes back to our history, but in a very simple, clean, very elegant, no hard corners. In the tail end being very horizontal. Yes, it could be something that someone could say it's very on trend, but if you look at our history, some of the horizontality of the elements that we have, even in Duetta, you look at the Duetto, we have that as well. So, but we want to do it with a twist. We want to do it a little bit differently. We want to actually treat it like a signature, like it's done by hand, the way this vehicle was done. So that rather than just having a 3-element or just a single element, we want it to feel like it's kind of coming off the artist's hand. No, I'm glad you picked up on that contrast of the inside and the outside. I mean, if you look at the sportiness of Alfa, you look at the kind of history of the love affair with driving. This vehicle is not a track vehicle, right? It's not meant to be shown as a track vehicle. This concept is more about the love affair with Alfa Romeo and the driving dynamics of Alfa. So you see the interior with the rich leather color, something very light. It kind of looks back to even some of the vehicles we've had in our past. So that kind of combination is very athletic, very dynamic, very sporty, but a touch of elegance and a touch of like this romanticism, which is purely Alfa Romeo. I'm glad you mentioned emotion. I mean, we take it for granted that it's kind of embedded in us now, but it has to be emotional, because emotion is about human traits, human qualities, right? You feel something. And Alfas have to have that emotion. They have to have that kind of soul to them. So on the inside, it has that soul. It's almost like it's a beating heart, something that kind of, you feel it. It's not just something visual. It's actually the heart of the vehicle. And actually, the effect that we wanted to have was that the console is the center point. The steering wheel is the focal point for the driver, but the center console is that kind of pulsating, almost the heart, where we have the large DNA drive mode selector. So that being kind of the essence of that. And we actually, in something that we put in the infotainment, the idea that we have this DNA, something technically in the vehicle that we're kind of conceptualizing is, what is DNA? And how do we have this emozione button that would be the extreme of using the hybrid technology to get the most performance out of it? So that is really the emotion baked right into the drive modes. So,
very much so.
Thank you. Appreciate it.